So now we're going to move to Matt Lilley, who is CEO of Africa Prudential. And my question for you, Matt, is Africa's insurance market is young, but of course has enormous commercial and developmental potential. What is Prudential's view on the industry in Africa and the ultimate impact it can have on advancing the available finance for development and achievement of the SDGs? Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. First of all, since we're in New York, a disclaimer, I'm from Prudential, the red Prudential, the British insurance company, not Prudential Financial, the blue Prudential, the American insurance company. The SDGs for Africa are ambitious, very ambitious, and rightly so. There isn't clearly enough aid money in the world to achieve it, so to get there, we need to see broad-based, sustained economic growth across a lot of countries over a long period of time. And the governments, aid donors, NGOs, and the private sector all need to work together to strengthen the prospects for that. We've seen in our company, we have a huge business across Southeast Asia, places like Indonesia, Vietnam, Malaysia, Thailand, Philippines. And we've seen over the last 25 years that the life insurance industry can play a major role in promoting sustainable economic growth in developing countries. And there's a few ways in which it contributes. Obviously, jobs, it's quite a labor-intensive industry, so we create a ton of jobs. We've got 400,000 agents in Southeast Asia. But more than that, there's a couple of other things that I'd like to talk about just briefly. First is the products. When people buy insurance, it covers them, provides them security in the event that a breadwinner dies, which is, the death of a breadwinner in developing countries is almost always a financial catastrophe for a family, and it's very hard to recover from, and insurance gives them protection for that. But also our long-term savings products enable people to build up capital, and that can be an investment for the future, such as in a child's education, and in a developing country there's not much more that you can invest in that's a better investment for the future than a child's education. But also it builds up a contingency fund for people in the event of illness or loss of work, which would otherwise either see them step back into poverty or have to sell assets at a difficult time. But the most important contribution that life insurance pays to sustainable economic development is in mobilizing finance. And what we do is our business model is customers give us their money and we give it them back, hopefully with a bit more in 20 years' time. And in the meantime, we invest all of that money in the markets in which we operate. None of it goes offshore. And we invest it because the savings products that we sell are illiquid products. Customers save by 10, 15, 20-year savings products. We can invest in illiquid long-term assets. And this creates a source of long-term capital for governments in their own currency. In effect, life insurance, if it develops, is a mechanism for governments to borrow from their own citizens. And whilst foreign capital has a huge role to play, it comes with costs and strings, not least it often denominated in a currency that's not the domestic currency, which again in times of difficulty can become a source of real pain for developing economies. The financing, obviously, that this creates, long-term local capital, can then be invested in infrastructure, and everybody, I think, would agree that the biggest impediment to long-term economic growth is usually the quality of infrastructure. What are we doing as an insurance company? We've got insurance. 2 years ago, we had no insurance businesses in Africa. Now we've got businesses in Ghana, in Kenya, and in Uganda. We've seen strong growth in all of those businesses. In the last 12 months, we've recruited and trained over 1,000 people, and we're adding to our network in different markets all the time. It's a big investment in terms of money, but also in terms of human capital for us as a company. But we're very excited about it. We see enormous opportunity for our business across Africa. And as we've seen in Asia, if our business grows, if our industry grows and is successful, there are enormous knock-on ancillary benefits to economic growth and long-term sustained development for the countries that we operate in.
Well, Matt, that's very encouraging. I would count that you do 4 contributions. capacity building being one of them, resilience. We think a lot about resilience this day, as well as the development of capital markets and encouraging individual savings. So you see here how that's so critical to really fulfilling all the aspects we have for FFD SDGs.
Doing business in Africa, you can't afford to be without Africa Investor.